Ramen is 10 cents, y'all.
Ramen is not food, y'all.
It can be.
Not.
Can. Anyway. But I will
Ramen
say
is not food, y'all.
Listen, when you're on a budget and it's a no budget,
ramen is not an option.
Listen, unless you know how to make beans and rice, ramen is an option for some people.
Ramen is not an option. Stop, run from ramen. Stop, and what is it? Not stop, what is it?
Stop, drop, and run. Yeah.
Yeah, not stop, drop, and roll. Stop.
Ramen and no. Stop ramen and no.
I can't even think what I was trying to say.
Anyway.
Coming to you from 125 Carver in Waco, Texas, it's the Riverside Weekly. We hope your time with us today is thought-provoking, spiritually challenging, and a life-changing experience. Our discussions are fun, real, and at times very uncomfortable. We highly encourage all of our guests and listeners to like and subscribe, and please ring the bell. Now, here are your hosts, Pastor Cello and Pastor Mia.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. It's Wednesday.
Wednesday, hump day, podcast day.
We should make shirts. Did I say that?
Podcast day?
Yeah, podcast day. And then everybody's going to want one. Yeah. This is day 2 of my designs. Thank you. Shout out to my son, Austin, because he did this one for me. He sent me a message in a bottle, and it just resonated with me. And I thought, you know what? If I needed to hear that, then other people needed to hear it. So I made several shirts and mailed them out. Isn't that cool? Shout out to you if you got one of those.
I'm wearing a DJ Restoration gear here.
Woohoo!
Gear here. Get it? Be humble. What's
Yeah.
up?
I got Be Humble too. Look, see?
Be humble, stay humble, hustle
Stay
hard.
humble, hustle hard.
Hustle hard, yo!
That's Mia's Mad Hustle. T-shirts, driving, cleaning houses, you name it, we can do it. I'm just kidding. And pretty much anything, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
What?
Trash needs to go out, by the way.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Anyway, I got a couple of shout outs I want to do. Y'all, we were eating cookies before the podcast, so.
I know, I hope I got no crumbs.
I know, I was like, if you hear us clicking our teeth, it's because they were so good. Thanks, cookies. And cookies are great for breakfast, by the way. They have milk, they have sugar, they have eggs, they have all the ingredients. And butter.
Sometimes flour.
There you go. Those are great things for breakfast.
Sometimes they come with raisins.
Or M&Ms. Or oatmeal.
M&M's, oatmeal.
That's great. See, that's
Chocolate
great.
chip.
That's great.
Chocolate.
Let me give some shout outs. So I want to shout out to Billy Cosell. What's
up, Billy?
Thank you. Long-time listener.
Long-time listener, subscriber, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, remember when we gave out cars and he was like, I want this kind of car. I like that about you.
Yeah, we did. We gave out cars, so if you don't know what episode that is,
you have to go listen.
So sorry.
And sorry you didn't get a car.
Sorry you didn't get a car.
Because we were giving out cars, a car for you and a car for you.
You get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Everybody got a car, so.
Yeah, it was awesome. And shout out to Miss Sabrina. Thank you for all your comments and your encouraging words. That really helps us a lot.
She does. She texts us. She sends us texts from time to time. Like the podcast, got different folks that text us. But
yeah. Thank you.
Leaves comments as well. So appreciate you guys commenting, leaving comments and texting us.
Yes, and then
at least we know where somebody's watching.
Yay, that is. Yay. We have more than 2 people watching. Yay. Also, too, we have Aunt Nora. We shouted out. She is the fur mama to Zena and Nala that I said shout out to them last week because they listened to me. And I said, that's probably why they don't like my voice when I go into my grandma's house. I'm like, Zena nipped me. You know what? Zena nipped my ankle, okay? So, and that's just probably because she listens to me all the time.
Probably bad podcast.
Anyway, shout out to Aunt Nora. Thank you. Get your fur babies. Keep them in line. And thanks for the new listeners. We have 2 new listeners.
Yep.
Mark.
2 viewers.
Yeah, Mark. Thank you, Mark, for listening. We are
appreciate you.
Thankful that you are listening to us and you haven't tuned us out yet. Not saying that won't happen, but,
there's always we keep it on the table.
Yeah. And then Shanti. Shanti's our newest listener.
Yeah, man, appreciate you guys listening.
Shout out to
Subscribing,
Shanti.
sharing, hitting the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Appreciate you guys.
And again, tell your cats, your dogs, because I seen some of
your
those
gerbils.
Instagrams. Gerbils have Instagrams too.
Iguanas.
Yeah. I don't know about Facebooks, but there are cats of Instagram, dogs of Instagram, so you can like and subscribe to our channel.
Not a pet animal person.
I know you're not, but there are people that are. You don't have to be.
I know some of our viewers are. It'll be all right.
So I want to talk today about something that's probably going to get a little tense here for a minute. So, anyway, I want to say day 2 of water. Let's divert to the water before we get in, because I think we're going to be cutting that steak, and it's going to be like
Water bottle.
water bottle, lighted water bottle.
Oh, we did that last week.
Yeah, that's what you said. Oh, last week. Sus, it's the same thing.
Lighted
right?
water bottle.
Anyway, so I want to talk about budgets. I know. I knew you were going to cringe. We've talked about this before, but not per se a budget. We've talked about different kinds of things. And I've got to tell you why I'm talking about that today.
Okay.
So I went to take a shower, and when I went to use my lovely Dove shampoo, the pump was empty. And I was like, And y'all know, you turning it upside down, scraping it. I don't know about y'all, but I do that. I don't add water to the bottle.
Oh, I do. I added water. I add water and then get the pump going. And
conditioner, I'll do that.
I'll do that with water.
I won't do that with shampoo.
I'll do it with anything until that thing is clean.
Hey, wait till we recycle.
But I'm not going to wash any other
But
dishes.
you're doing
but I'm
that.
not washing.
Adding water is washing
But
it.
I'm using it, though. I'm using it. That's different. I'm not going to, you know me, I'm not going to go, okay, let's wash all the milk jugs, all the juice jugs.
So you don't add water to your milk?
No way.
And you don't add water to your syrup?
No.
And you don't add water to your peanut butter?
No.
But you add water to your soaps?
Yes.
Why?
There's nothing like good watered down soap when you're at the bottom. When you're at the end. Don't water down, you don't water around peanut butter, and you don't water down the word.
I was like, what? Okay. Anyway, so
Don't water down the message, man.
We're not
just-
even talking about it. I was like, what happened? Let's focus. Let's refocus. So basically what happened is I went to go wash my hair, and there was no soap. And immediately, this is what I said. I don't have any soap. Oh, it's fine. I'll just swing on into Sam's and grab me a set of Dove shampoo sets. And I thought to myself, do you have the budget? Is that in your budget today? Can you do that? And I was like, no, it's not. And I was like, how am I going to do it? I have to use generic soap, or I have to use this soap, or I have to borrow some soap from somebody. I was like, oh, Jesus, I need a budget.
I just don't take a bath.
No, that's not true. That's not true. You would be like your daughter and use Dawn.
I'll use whatever.
Since Dawn takes the grease out of the way. But I was just thinking about budgets, and I was like, man, we are the least person to talk about budgets, because you and I, we are each other's worst enemy. And we've talked about this before. If he wants something, I'm going to make sure he gets it. If I want something, he's going to make sure that he gets it, not me. So, but I'm just saying, I'm going to make sure I get it. How's that? Is that what it should have said? If you want something, I'm going to make sure you get it. And if I want something, I'm going to make sure that I get it, right? But I was like, we are the worst, because we will not budget. And then when something comes up like that, I'm like, we weren't prepared for that, And I was thinking about the Dave Ramsey that you made all of us and the kids go through. And I was like, how many of that did that actually stick to,
Well, I think we do pretty good. I think we do pretty good when it comes to budgets. I think we mess ourselves up when we go after the things that we want to go after.
Is that wrong, though? Is that wrong to self-care myself? I mean, shampoo is self-care. I didn't buy this water bottle.
I know. That's funny
I
to say that.
did make my shirt.
I think there's a little deception for folks when it comes to us.
Okay.
I think when it comes to us.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a little deception.
Okay. Help the folks and the viewers understand.
Okay, so I'll just start off. Okay, so we started the podcast. When we started the podcast 4 years ago, when we started going, we were doing audio. We had made a small investment ourselves into getting the podcast going, and then the church. As the church was growing, there was finances, so we were able to upgrade different things with the church for the podcast. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't necessarily us putting money in, but the podcast it's a church. I say it's a church podcast. It's us on the podcast, but it's our podcast is financed
through the church.
through the church. So there's a small budget that comes from that.
It's
that
very
helps,
small.
very small. That helps pay for
The microphones
the
or
different-
the streaming
yeah,
or the platforms.
yeah, anything that we do with a podcast is a small thing, small percentage of our budget that goes towards that. And so when people see us around town, when they see things that we're doing, they automatically assume
That
we
we're
have
rich?
that we have well that we have yeah that
That
we're
you
rich,
and I are rich?
that we may have more money than we do.
Okay, I was like,
than
wait a
we
minute,
do.
what?
Well, what I'm saying is that there's perception is a little, I think, is a little off sometimes because, for instance, not all the things that we have did we buy. Not all the things that we have did we budget for.
Yeah.
Not all the things that we do did we budget for or did we pay for. And so it can be a little misleading when we do things, go places, have things, and it looks like, well, you guys are buying these things, and
yeah.
it's not that's not necessarily true. It wasn't up until about a year ago that I actually started buying T-shirts. Like I was like I was like putting a budget aside, like I want to get these T-shirts. But up to that point, I didn't hardly buy. I don't buy stuff like that, but people buy stuff for me. People buy things for you. So we have different things that are given to us, gifts in kind.
Oh yeah,
if you
because
will.
people are kind to us.
Yeah. So, and it can look that way. You know, like I love my daughters. I know that for Father's Day or for Christmas, I'm going to get a new watch every year. I'll either get one watch or two watches.
Depending on their budget.
Depending on their budget, right? But when people look at me like, man, I like your watches, it's not that I went and bought watches, it's that my daughters do that for me.
Yeah.
You know, my son and my daughter-in-law bought me some Pumas, you know, for Christmas or my birthday. I think it's for Christmas. You know,
I don't know. You get them for birthday, Christmas,
yeah,
Father's
right,
Day.
Yeah, so I mean, I get
Grandparents' Day.
Right, so it looks like, man, he's just buying all
Yeah.
these shoes. He's
Yeah.
just buying all these clothes.
Like we have an unlimited budget.
Like we have an unlimited budget, and the truth of the matter is that
I don't work, nor
don't-
does he.
we budget the money that we do have. I feel like we do it so well and make sure that our bills are paid I'm not saying that we don't have financial crisis and issues that come
Right,
up.
correct.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that you and I don't usually, I'd say probably 99% of the time, we're not usually out just buying stuff up so that
Right.
we can have things. Now you buy gadgets and stuff for
I
the
do.
kids.
I do.
And grandkids, but when it comes to like just having things, like we're not just out buying stuff all the time. And so for us to say, hey, we're going to budget X amount of money for clothing, we don't really do that.
No.
Um,
And nor do we have, just so y'all all are clear, because I know this, you're going to probably push me off my chair, but just so y'all know, we do not own a church credit card.
Yes,
We don't
have-
believe in credit. We don't like credit
Personally,
like that
personally.
personally. So we don't roll like that.
Yeah.
Nor do we get paid by the church.
Right. And
And
so the money that we do have come in for ourselves, we have to be very mindful of how we spend our money,
Mindful.
where we spend our money.
Which is why you add water to the soap.
That's why that's why I add water to the soap. And so I'm saying that because a lot of times we can see somebody from a distance and go, how do they afford all that stuff?
Yeah,
And it might
yeah.
be somebody giving that to them or providing that for them. You know, we think, well, man, how do they afford that car? And somebody might be making that car payment for them. You know, we have to stop assuming that just because the things that people have or where they're doing or what they're not doing, that they have all that money. But at the same time, there are people that live way outside their means.
Yeah.
And I was watching a documentary the other day, and it said that most Americans are $450 away from financial catastrophe.
Wow.
Like a $450 to a $500 event will completely mess them up.
That's true.
for a
that's
month.
that's pretty much everybody, and
Right,
that's
for a
really what I
month.
was
And-
saying. Yeah.
And that's because they were saying it's because most people are not planning for emergencies.
Yes.
Most people are not planning for
Yes.
this, that,
Yep.
or whatever. You know, this,
Yep.
that, the third, or whatever. And so they're just literally living paycheck to paycheck.
Wow.
You know, and I feel like, I mean, for me, and you know this, and if anybody that's closest to us, I felt like I've been living quote unquote paycheck to paycheck for so long that I don't really worry about it from the sense of emergencies. I've always just really, now I'm gonna get all spiritual. I've always just really leaned on God, making sure that everything's been taken care of. Not that they're not savings. Like we've had savings and we've used our savings.
Yeah.
We've had savings and then we use our savings.
Yeah.
We've had savings and then we use our savings.
Yeah.
Our kids are dependent on inheritance and we're going to use that inheritance. And so, I think that when you talk about budgets, I think it's important to budget. I think it's important to know where your money goes. I think it's important to tell your money where it needs to go.
What did you always say about I don't have it in my pocket, but you were always saying your pocketbook tells you where your money, most of your money
goes.
is.
Yeah,
right?
your transactions, your bill statement will tell where all your money goes. Now I know people know me. They see me and you all the time. We'll go eat here. We'll go eat there. We'll be eating here, and our kids are always giving us a hard time. Man, you guys are always eating out, but we don't always pay. We're not always paying for our meals, and and praise God for everybody that feeds us.
Yeah.
But just
May it come back to you in many meals.
and that's what I tell them. I was like, man, it's gonna come back to you in many meals. And so I think that that's a misconception. So when people see us out all the time, they just assume that we're paying our tab and their tab. And a lot of times it's them paying our tab.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure what that is.
Sorry.
And I think that's where that perception can get wrong. And so it's a lot of times we get what do you call it? I'm trying to think of the word. We get distracted because we're looking at somebody else and we don't know their finances. We don't know how they're budgeting or what they're paying for or what they're not paying for. But like I agree with you. Like we're probably each other's worst enemies or benefactors.
Yeah. Financial wise.
Because we'll take a loss over here so that you can get this, or we'll take a loss so that or you'll take a loss so I can have this.
Honestly, I think because I did say I don't work, but that's not true. I do work. I hustle. And you're like, should you say that out loud, Pastor Man? Yes, because we should just Google the word hustle because
Next podcast.
Okay. All right. But I say that because I find job to job to job to job. And I'm not moving from job to job. Okay, enough. You see it? You see
Drink
it?
some water.
Yeah, you need a drink. Calm down. So I move from job to job doing these small jobs because it works with our schedule.
Yeah, and I think that's when you talk about budgets, I think it's about knowing knowing the money that you have to have in order to survive.
Okay.
What you need, in other words, your house, electric, gas, water, car insurance, because I know people that have cars that don't have car payments, right? And I know people that have cars that can barely pay the car payments.
Shout out to you if you don't have a car payment.
Right? But I think once you understand what you're willing to live at, your baseline of what you're willing to live at, then it doesn't matter. I mean, because our kids, friends, when they were young, when they were growing up, they would come to our house and they were like, "You guys are rich. My gosh, you guys are so rich." And my kids are like, "No, we're not rich. We don't even have cable." Like, we're not rich.
That was on purpose.
Right?
Though.
Yeah, but
that was on purpose.
That's my point. Is that if you understand your baseline of what you're willing to live with or live without, then you can set your budget from there. Like there are some people that they would much rather rent a house than buy a house. There are some people that much rather buy a house than rent a house. There are people that would rather have a car payment than not have a car payment.
And there were people that rather live in their car than not have.
Yeah, there are people
that
would
payment.
rather. There were people that would rather
Be
ride
homeless,
ride a bicycle to work, take public transportation. So everybody has different things that they value and how they want to spend their money.
Yeah.
And so everybody's budgets looks different. But I think where we get ourselves in trouble is that we set our budget or our minimum that we need to spend living expenses, but then we try to keep up with everybody else.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to have all the bells and whistles that somebody else has, but you're not making the money that they make.
What do we always say? Champagne taste
on a beer budget.
Beer bottle budget.
Yeah. But then the danger of that is a lot of times is that we will try to have the same things that everyone else has or others that we think that they have, but we don't have the money to do that. And it's not that we don't have the money. It's just that we don't budget our money right so that we can't do those things.
Yeah.
So we're not really thinking. I like what Maddie says all the time. She says, Everybody's surprised when Christmas comes, but it comes at the same year every year, right?
It comes at the same time of year every year.
The same date. It's the same.
It's
date.
not a surprise.
It's not a surprise. But we always say, well, Christmas snuck up on me. How did it sneak up on you? It's the 25th, right? We know that it's the 25th of every year.
Yeah.
But I think that happens a lot of times with us in our life, right? So we don't plan for birthday parties. We don't plan for vacations. We don't plan for weddings. We don't plan for Christmas, holiday. Like, we don't plan for these things. And then when they show up, we don't plan for our tires to go flat. We don't plan. We don't plan for our cars to break down. Like, because we don't plan for those things.
We don't plan for our house to be painted.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, so all those things that take place, and that's how you have to be able to understand your baseline of what you're willing to live, and how do you budget that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us sometimes get dependent on our checks, that we don't want to side hustle. We don't want to make a little extra cash. I love what my brother did. He was throwing a party for my sister-in-law, and he has a full-time job, great benefits, like he's been there for years. But because he knew that he had this event coming up 7-8 months out, my brother, he worked 2 and 3 jobs on top of it, or side hustle jobs. He was working, like religiously all the way to that event, and everything was paid for by the time he had that event, because he was making that extra money, paying for this and paying for that.
Yeah, because he doesn't like owing anybody, so he doesn't like credit cards.
But he didn't have it in his budget.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, we don't have this money to do this event, but I want to do this, so I'm going to go do this odd job, do that odd job. I think that we live in a culture and a society today where we want money for nothing and
our chicks for free. I mean,
that's a song.
Saying, that is a song.
So I think a lot of times what we do is we get caught up in not wanting to budget, because when you budget, it requires discipline.
Yeah.
And we don't like discipline.
Yeah. Or people don't like commitment.
And we don't like
commitment. Because you got to commit to the budget, and you're
right.
like, I got to stick to it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is that you guys, everybody gets to set their budget. I love what Dave Ramsey's like. You get to set the budget. It's not like you're 4 years old and you got to do what mom says. It's like, you get to set what that is, and that's what I'm saying is like.
But you also are going to pay the consequences.
Right. So
if you go outside
of that, so that's what I'm saying. So like, if you understand your baseline, this is where, like, people look like, y'all don't have central heat and air. No, we ain't had it ever since the whole time we've been in the house. We've never had it, but.
2-story house, central heat and air.
Yeah, like we're like, I'd rather not pay for it, because we're good. Like, we know where we're at, and so it looks a little bit different from household to household. But I think the reason people shy away and run from budgets is because it requires discipline.
Well, I don't have any of that, so I don't. I don't budget. I'm just saying. I mean, I've budgeted now, and really, what made me think about that was not really just the soap, the shampoo, because I was like, oh, I'll just hop into Sam's, and my whole body was like, skirt. No, you're not, because that's not a part of your budget. And I was like, That's
what I'm saying. Is that exactly like when you know that you have a certain amount of money to spend on a certain amount of things. Yeah. When you reach that limit, what we do is we, what do you call it?
Borrow from Rob Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
I don't know who Peter and Paul are.
Right. And so,
but
I don't know either. But Leroy usually gets the money, and so when we get too used to living that way, that's how we live. Because in our minds, a lot of times we don't look at things. We look at things at spending and not. How can I say this? Things that we should look at as investments, we look at spending.
Yeah.
And things that we look at and things that we think that are investments are not really investments. We're spending money.
We're blowing it away.
So investments, if you can think in this terms, an investment will give you a return on the money that you've put out. Spending is what you don't get anything back. It's just gone. Like that money's gone. And I think a lot of times what we do is we spend money and we think it's an investment, and it's not an investment, right? And I think
if I can use it, my daughter says that if you paid it, $5 for it or $50 for it and used it 5 times, then you did good. Or if you bought something for $5 and you used it 5 times and then it broke, you're doing good.
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So if you look at things those way, like you take a shirt, pay $30 for a shirt. If you wear that shirt 30 times, you got $1 usage.
That's what I'm saying.
If you keep that same shirt for 30 years,
that's some ROI right there.
Exactly, right? So, But we don't think in
I
those
thrift,
we don't
by
think
the
in
way.
those terms. And so what we end up doing, this is the part that's going to make everybody mad.
Okay.
What we end up doing is we end up spending money out of our budget to have things that we never want to let go of.
Yeah, that's true.
And we literally just have a house,
Full of
garage full of stuff. I think the craziest thing, and if you got a storage, I'm sorry, I love you. Storage units are good for temporary storage, but if you're paying storage
for years.
for years and you have things in storage, you're literally giving money away because those are things that you're not even using.
As my son says, if you haven't looked at it in a year, you can get rid of it already. Okay.
So, I mean-
he won't get rid of his stuff, but he gets rid of everybody else's stuff.
So when you look at when you look at and think about budgets or budgeting, I think you should start off with just like, look, like, what is my baseline? What is it going to cost me to live? What am I spending on electric? What am I spending on house? What am I spending or housing? What am I spending on car insurance? Like, I'm not saying that you're wrong to have a car payment and to pay a house. Like, I'm not saying that,
Listen,
but you have to be able to. Going back to what you said, you have to be willing to pay the price for the things that you want. If you want a nice car, you're going to pay for the nice car. You know, I know when both of my daughters, they I think in the last 2 months, both of my daughters
Paid their
paid their
cars off.
vehicles off, and both of them were like, "I don't want
Want
another,
another- yeah.
I don't want another car payment."
I'm just going to take care of mine because I don't want a car payment.
Yeah, and it's funny because when they were getting their cars, I'm like, "Don't get a car payment, don't get a car payment," right? And it's okay, but I think as you grow and you develop, you're like, okay, if you have the money, then you don't have a problem paying for it. That's fine. Budget that way. But you're the one that's making that decision. That's your choice.
Yeah.
But don't be mad when everybody else is doing something that you cannot afford to do.
Yeah.
Right? My dad used to say, hey, you want the cool wheels? Go eat your wheels because we're going out to eat and you don't have $10 to eat.
Listen,
There you go.
ramen is 10 cents, y'all.
Ramen is not food, y'all.
It can be.
Not.
Can. Anyway. But I will
Ramen
say
is
this.
not food, y'all. Don't
Listen,
eat-
when you're on a budget and it's a no budget, you
ramen
will
is not an
ramen.
option.
Listen, unless you know how to
Ramen-
make beans and rice, ramen is an option for some
Ramen is
people.
not an option. Stop, run from ramen. Stop, and what is it? Not stop, what is it? Stop,
Stop, drop, and run. Yeah.
Yeah, not stop, drop, and roll. Stop. I can't
Ramen
even-
and no. Stop ramen and no.
I can't even think what I was trying to say.
Anyway, so I will say this. What made me think about it is all these people getting off their unemployment checks gonna be looking at what did I save? What did I do while I didn't have, while I had that extra money?
I said that 12 months, 13
So
months ago.
we're going to see what's going to happen next week, y'all. Y'all tune in next week to see what is happening in the world.
Everything's fixing to change.
Yeah.
Again.
Yes. So thanks for listening to his rant. He went on a
Sorry,
rant
I
there,
did.
but it was a good rant. So I hope that helped you and start saving, and you'll call that your baby step. If you can get to 500 and you're not touching that, don't spend it on Christmas. It's saving for the emergency. All right. We love you guys.
I'll let you guys later.
See you next week.
Peace out, homies.
Thank you for listening to the Riverside Weekly. Download the Riverside Waco app to stay connected and follow us on all social media sites at the Riverside Waco. This podcast is made possible by the givers of Riverside Community Church. Production and engineering provided by Capital G and RTV in Waco, Texas.